So thank you everybody for having me here today. I wasn't going to announce that I'm from Pizza Ranch by any means, but that is my day job right now, and gardening is definitely one of my hobbies. So I just want to share with you guys a little bit about my gardening background. By no means do I think I'm any type of expert, because judging by the faces and some of the ages here, you guys probably have more experience and knowledge than I do. But I've had a really great journey with it the past few years, and I've found a lot of reward in it. I've had a lot of fun. And so I would just like to encourage you guys, if you aren't gardeners yet, that you get to experience some of that. So first of all, so like Tom mentioned, I'm Trisha Teege. I live in Austin, Minnesota. I've been here for about a decade. Before that, I was in Fairmont, and I grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So in Fairmont, we have this little place called Heritage Acres. And Heritage Acres is a community garden. And so about 15 years ago was my first experience with gardening. Me and my sister Jamie decided at the time that we wanted to have some gardens, and we didn't have any room at either one of our houses. Back then we had a lot of small children too, so it was very difficult for us to really be meticulous about gardening. But what we did is we got a few community garden plots. We made sure to get them close together so that we were able to do it as a partnership. And basically we just threw a bunch of seeds in the ground. Our lines weren't straight. We planted some things that we bought from the greenhouses, and we just thought we would sit back and watch them grow. So we knew nothing at all. We didn't do any research on gardening or anything. We just kind of used our mental knowledge of what we knew to make the best of it. So the really awesome thing is that every time we would come back out to the garden, we had just plentiful harvest, right? So we were never out there watering. We were never out there weeding. We didn't do the gardening job that we were supposed to do. But every single time we came back to the garden gave back to us. And we actually had so much produce that we couldn't eat it all within our families. We gave a lot away, and we shared a lot. So that was my first experience, and that just tells me that you can do this with just a little bit of work, not even a lot of work at all, and you're gonna get success. You're gonna get some produce out of it. So don't overthink it. Don't don't think that you have to go all out to do something to have great success with doing it. So fast forward to the year of 2020. I didn't really do anything in between my time of the Heritage Acres experience, like 15-ish years ago up until 2020. But in 2020, like everyone else, sitting around watching the news, watching the economy, seeing what was going on was very scary. And I think Tom mentioned too, just with like the supply chain disruptions, production issues, even getting toilet paper at your grocery store, whatever it was awesome. I'll come and pee out here then, that's great. So, it just was really eye-opening for all of us. And it really got me to think, if I could not go to the grocery store and source my food, what would I do? I have 8 children, and we have 10 altogether, but that's something that when you're a mom, it becomes even more important to you. So if I couldn't go to the grocery store, how would I source my food? What would I do, and what would I eat? And so that really became a big concern for me. It became a big deal. And I got really interested in trying to sustain my own produce right there in my own home. Of course, it was like the middle of winter, so it was about February. Maybe January, February, something like that. But we had bought a greenhouse. We just got it off of Walmart, very small, probably 6 by 8. Put it inside of our basement, got the soil in all the little cups, had the kids help out. We planted a bunch of seeds, got our grow lights going, got our misters in there, and we really just had a lot of fun with it. So it was freezing outside, the world was in turmoil, but we went into our little greenhouse, and it was just like this ray of sunshine. It was really beautiful because anytime you're putting something living around you, plants around you, I mean, it helps you in so many ways, and it was just a really nice environment in our little square. But anyways, so yeah, I grew a lot of things in my basement. I had green beans growing down there. I tried cucumbers, I had lettuces, I had spinach down there. I did some like beets and carrots, but I really kind of probably overproduced in that greenhouse, and so some of them weren't close enough to the light. So, it was all a learning experience that what vegetables need, and different vegetables need different things. But it wasn't long after that we took that outside. So we had raised garden beds that we were putting up, and we took things outside, and we had really, really great success that year. And that was really the first year that I got really interested in it. Let me find my clicker here. So there's the Heritage Acres Community Gardens. Lots of fun. I know that we have those available here in Austin if that's something you guys are looking to do, if you don't have the space in your own home. But what I'm going to tell you too is that I actually don't have a lot of space at my home. We did fence in our backyard, and we did do the raised garden beds. Another thing that we did was doing like the cattle panels. So some of our bigger items like squash that we love, we were able to grow that way and grow quite a few of them just by getting them up off the ground, so they didn't take up a whole bunch of space. So this was us. We actually didn't have a fence. We didn't have any area to garden. So when we first moved into our house, people told us that we were living on a dairy farm. And it was amazing soil at one point, but the contractors knew that, and they removed all the good soil, and they brought in a bunch of clay stuff, and it would not be suitable for growing. You wouldn't be very, very successful if you use that clay stuff. So knowing that, we got these up. I actually sourced my soil from Stivers, which they make their own compost, and I knew that that was really important. So the more that I did my research, I knew that I had to have a better soil, and that soil is the foundation of everything that you're going to grow. So we're going to get right on that next. But the first thing I kind of want to show you guys, or tell you guys, lucky for me, when I started, I did a lot of research in the winter. So I was super excited, did my research on things because I really wanted to make a really good go of it and be successful. So just some of the important factors for you if you are planning this. It's always good to take a moment to pre-plan a garden layout. A lot of people, I even have neighbors that just kind of put some stuff in an area and it's not growing, and I would love to help them, but they don't come outside a lot. But so one thing you want to be certain of is that you are placing your garden items correctly. You want to make sure that you're gardening on the south side of your house, or that where you're gardening is going to allow for full sunshine, or at least 6+ hours of sunshine for most of your plants that you want to plant. So researching your planting needs, allowing for good spacing between things, kind of researching how much light maybe some of your stuff needs, and just the positioning of things. So if you've got larger items, you obviously don't want to be planting those first so that they're going to grow over your smaller items that still need that sunshine, they still need that light, right? They need that room to grow. So just planning it is going to give you a greater chance of success. So also, like I said, starting with soil, I know a few people kind of talked about the basis of soil, but it is the foundation of success for your plants. So like I mentioned, the clay stuff that we have, it just would not be beneficial to grow things in there. Not to say that you wouldn't get some of a harvest, because like I mentioned with my Heritage Acres expedition there, that things will grow for you in a garden. A garden wants to grow for you, but there are things that you can do to make it even better, and if you really want to be successful and you want to get meticulous, you can. So that's the good thing, is that you can do it however you want to. You can spend however much time on that you want to. So we talked about the sunlight too. Obviously, plants need sunlight to grow. They need that water to grow. So finding out what type of watering requirements that your vegetables might need. When I first started, I actually we usually go to conference every year for Pizza Ranch, and then we'll we'll tack on a vacation on the end of that. So when I first started, I actually hired girls to come in and just water, soak my stuff every single day so I wouldn't miss a day, right? And then I realized the more research that I did, that is not what your plants want. That's not what your vegetables want. It's not what they need. And that overwatering is like the biggest reason that gardens don't survive. So just putting a little bit of thought into that, taking some time to like navigate that, I was able to remedy it really quick. I'm like, okay, we're not gonna water every single day. Now there are some there are some reasons or I guess situations where you would want to water every single day. So if you have raised garden beds, those are gonna dry out a lot quicker than if you're putting something inside your own soil or in your own ground if you have great soil. So for me, watering in those raised garden beds was important. If you have 90-degree days and it's super, super hot, another reason you might want to water more often, especially in a raised garden bed. But I've come to find that normally, like plants, vegetables, every 2 to 3 days, they're much happier with that. And you're going to find that some of your plants and vegetables don't like as much water as other ones do. So when you get into the nitty-gritty of it, you can learn more about it. So another requirement would be weeding. So I'll tell you a little bit of a funny story. When I first got all my stuff situated, right, I'd go to work, I'd come home, and one day my neighbor's like, do you want to come over for a drink today? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I have zero time. Like, I got to go out there and I got to weed that garden, because it seemed like at first that's all I was doing was weeding, weeding, weeding. Anyways, like, why don't you just cut your grass, put all your grass clippings around your tomato plants, your vegetables, and you're not going to have to do that weeding. And I hadn't known that. So it's really nice when you do get some good advice from somebody that's already been there and done that. So I did that, and you know what? I really didn't weed after that at all. And there's a lot of good reasons to do that. It also helps your moisture inside your soil. It can help cut down if there is too much moisture with fungus and stuff like that. Grass also has some nitrogen or nutrients in it that can be beneficial for your plants or vegetables. But there's also other things that you can use to mulch, like if you've got a natural shredded bark, that would work. Otherwise, straw. I know that there's places in town that will sell straw bales that you can put that down as well. So that was just really interesting, but it was very helpful for me to have a neighbor just point that out. Fertilizing, so Tom kind of talked about that a little bit too. I actually haven't done a lot of fertilizing. I'm very organic, very natural, want to keep things as best as possible, but there's a lot of different avenues now, whereas I think years prior it was harder to find a real good organic fertilizer, good nutrients that aren't going to harm your soil. And so there's a lot of options out there. I think it's definitely worth researching. And there are times where my husband was a big Miracle-Gro person, so he would do that to like our flowers, and I was like, every time he'd do it, I'd come back and it's like, oh my gosh, these look amazing. He's like, that's because I use fertilizer. But anyhow, so that's just an important aspect. It can kind of help replenish the needs of your soil, boost that mineral content in there, because of course when you're planting, they're always, your vegetables as they grow, they're drawing out of that soil. So pest control, that would be another important thing that you might want to think about. And again, like Tom had mentioned, when we were out on the field there, just planting something in between could have helped with his pest control naturally. So there's a lot of good natural things that you can do to help with that. A lot of herbs or different things that you plant can offset those bugs that might want to come and might want to eat. But one interesting thing that I found, especially by starting things inside of my greenhouse, was that, a lot of people, and you got to be careful because you're going to hear things both ways, and some of it is trial and error. You do find out for yourself. But, I started things so early, and that year in 2020, it was really warm in March. So I got things in the ground right away because it was favorable conditions. And then I learned that, it doesn't have to be 90 degrees and sunny, right? We always think summer gardens. Again, that's not what every vegetable wants. It's not what every vegetable needs. And it's not actually ideal for many vegetables. So, by the time it was May, I had full-grown cabbages out in my garden, and they were amazing, and people were commenting all over Facebook on them. I think that was one of the reasons that they selected me to come and talk. But, it was just like, yeah, I had started them, and that was kind of my first time doing them. So, in a way, I'm like, yeah, I got lucky, but I actually think it was really smart to do that because, by the time the pests came out for those cabbages, they were already full grown and out of my garden and eaten. So just sometimes, knowing that little thing that it was experience that taught me. And so now I think I'll be doing it that way every single time because if you can avoid, where those pests are eating things, then you're going to get a better harvest. Another thing that is available is like testing kits. So testing kits for your soil, if that's something that you're ever interested in. So you can do all that you can do as a gardener, but sometimes it's dependent on other things that you're not doing or outside of your realm of doing. So your soil, like I said, that's number one. So that's the basis of everything you do. If you have terrible soil, but you're an amazing gardener, you're just not going to have that success. And then I think a lot of people get discouraged and they think, man, I just suck at this gardening stuff. And it's not true. The truth is it's all from the soil. So that's your number one thing. And I think sounds like that's what we're hitting on today is soil is super, super important. Don't destroy it, love it, take care of it, nourish it, and it's going to nourish you back. So yes, anyways, so testing kits, you can do that. It will help with your soil. But there are years where the environment, the weather, some years you're going to have better crops on beets or whatever, and other years you're going to have better on tomatoes. Doesn't mean that you're a bad gardener by any means. Sometimes it is up to different weather conditions and stuff like that. So another thing that you can do is staggered planting. So if you want to have like a succession of carrots all summer long, my kids love fresh carrots. You can just plant a couple rows of those, couple weeks later, plant another couple rows, couple weeks later again, and you'll just have these coming through all summer long for your family to enjoy. So it really depends upon what you want to do, how much time and energy you want to put into it. But definitely if you want to garden and you haven't gardened yet, I want to encourage you to start. You can start small and you can start with little to no work at all if you want to do that. You're still going to have great success. That garden wants to grow for you. All right, so 10 reasons, and I actually think there might be 11 on here to start gardening. So gardening builds strength. When you are out there working in the garden, especially if you're carrying in heavy things, soil, lugging around hoses for watering, working in that dirt, it is really good for strength. It works your body, it works your bones. I mean, you can get some cardio in if you want to too out there. I know I do because I carry a lot of soil from the front to the back or replenishing bags. Gardening improves mood. So I know especially for me when, I hate to say it, but when that 2020 stuff happened, everybody was just all over the place and I just needed a place to go to get out of it, and gardening provided that for me. It was a really nice escape. And it was super, super fun to just see like what I could do, putting that love and energy into things and the results that it would reward me with. And it really did help. It got my mind off a lot of things. Another one is that I'm going to skip down, but anxiety and depression, it's easy to, a lot of us are going all different ways, right? In this world, I know I'm super, super busy and I don't stop running. But going to the garden just gives me a place to let down, releases anxiety, releases depression. Just getting in that soil, all that stuff in that soil, it's very beneficial for your body. Kind of skipping along here, but that soil, that boosts the immune system for you, getting in there. I think we learned even in 2020 that there are sequences of coronavirus in the soil. So I even had my kids get out there. Just get out there and play in the dirt. Plant something if you want. Do whatever you want to do, but get out there. That's actually going to be beneficial for you. Yes?
So do you go barefoot in your garden?
Oh, I go barefoot every day I can, all the time, yes.
My grandkids doing that.
Yes, yeah, no, I love it. And when Tom mentioned grounding, I'm always out there doing that, yes. Yes, I love feeling connected to the earth, and it just really diffuses me, so I do enjoy that. Gardening promotes sleep, so anytime you're out in the sunshine, you're out in that fresh air, your body really does need that. We're not built to just sit inside all day and sit on a computer or be inside a building. We need to be out. We're just as important as kids, and we preach that to our kids. You know, you need to eat healthy, you need to go outside. We need that too. That's really important. That fresh air does a lot for you, the soil does a lot for you, and anytime you're working with anything living like plants, it's gonna give back to you. It's a mutual relationship, and you both benefit. So gardening can help fight disease. Well, obviously, if you're eating healthy plants and vegetables, you are fighting disease. So your body is going to react to what you put inside it. And if somebody mentions, I'm only calling it out because Sue did it, but if you're going to eat McDonald's every day, your body's going to have a reaction to that. I'm not saying that McDonald's is bad or restaurants are bad by any means. I love my own restaurant. But, you know, I think it's really important for us to be mindful. You know, Tom mentioned if you're going to do a negative, do a positive. That's good. If you can just do positives, that's even better. But as we all know, in this busy life, every single day is a struggle. It's a struggle to do some of those good things. But I tell you, having a garden, getting out there just made it so easy for me. And I'm not a huge person that loves to cook. I mean, I was at home for 20 years. I cooked organically from scratch every meal, you know, cleaning 16 hours a day, right, with all my kids, but it's just not a desire of mine any longer. So having a garden, though, just made it super simple. I didn't have to go source anything anywhere else. I had it readily available, and it did re-inspire me a little bit to get back into the kitchen and to do the right thing by my own self and as well to my family. So growing strong bones, yes, so that's part of it too. Obviously, like anytime you're working your body, you're working your bones, we kind of hit that up there, it builds strength. But vitamin D, being out in the sunshine, you can take all the mineral supplements that you want, all the vitamin D supplements that you want, but if you're not doing it in nature the way nature intended for you to do it, it's just still made in a laboratory, right? Your vitamins are still, I mean, I'm not saying that they're not good, please don't take that away, but getting something naturally the way that it is intended to be received is the best way for you. So a pill cannot replace being out, getting exactly what the earth gives us. Gardening improves self-esteem. So, you know, we hit that up there too with the mood, the anxiety, and depression. If you can desire to want to do something, even to grow tomatoes for the year, and you work hard at that, and you've put your sweat equity into that, and you've like taken care and love and putting your energy into that, it gives you a really great self-esteem, like, oh my gosh, one day you're gonna come back, and you're gonna have all these tomatoes, and you're gonna feel like you just rocked it out, right? And like, you're the neighborhood gardener, and everybody's gonna want what you got, and yeah, anyway, so you could just hand out tomatoes, rounds of tomatoes, but yeah, it really makes you feel good about what you're doing. But then again, when you're eating these things and you're feeding them to your family, I mean, that's the ultimate. Like, I'm doing right. I'm doing the right thing by me and by them. And it feels good. Your body feels good. The better you eat, feels good. Giving you a sense of empowerment. Again, same thing as self-esteem. Like, hey, I did this. I can do this. You know, whether you're working a little bit at it or whether you got really interested, meticulous, read all your magazines, did all your online research, and you had amazing success, either way, like, it doesn't matter if you're doing it small or big. It's a really great sense of empowerment that you did it, and you got to start somewhere. Gardening encourages healthy eating, obviously. Don't even need to describe that there. It's amazing what gardening can do for you. One thing I know with my family, like, I'll get really over-ambitious and I'll just super over-plant, and I'll plant a bunch of stuff, and then one day I'll be like, why do I have all these beets? Because, like, nobody really eats them. And, you know, unless, like, I'll eat canned beets, but a lot of times I don't take the time to cut them and saute them or put them in the oven or olive oil, salt, and pepper. I know I should, but, right, sometimes it's baby steps with things. But, so I would encourage you, you know, just sometimes you need to take a step back and say, okay, what do I really love to eat? What vegetables do I really like, or what vegetables do my kids really like? And start from there and do what you really like, instead of just planting a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense to you. which I usually do, because I like to try a little something of everything. Well, these are kind of hard to see, but I'm just going to show you guys some pictures. I actually have a lot of pictures of my kids on my phone, which I was going to upload more of them, but I did this at like 10:30 at night last night, so I had to just scale it down. But anyways, so the fun of it was I had some of my kids just label some of like I see peppermint, lavender, rosemary, different things there. So getting your family involved, like Tom mentioned, teaching these kids where food comes from because they have no idea, and a lot of adults don't have any idea either. But it doesn't mean that it's too late to learn. It doesn't matter if you have adult kids, it's not too late to invest in them that way and give them those habits that can really help them in the future, right? So we don't want to be eating diseased diets. We really want to work towards the goodness that we deserve and that our bodies need to be functioning properly every single day. So this is kind of hard to see, but that was a picture of my raised garden beds there. My husband was really amazing and built them all by himself, and when he came back from, I think, Home Depot that one day, he was like, well, I spent $900 on it, and I'm like, what? I would have never said that you should do that, because I didn't realize wood was very expensive. So I'm like, well, geez, I should have tried to do it a little differently, but it was too late. He came back with them. He did an excellent job, yeah, and it was just really beautiful. Very nice meditative spot we created. These are two of my girls over here picking carrots. We just grew like one bed full of carrots. Carrots are something that you can grow a little bit closer together, and they were just huge. These pictures really don't do justice, but they really loved that, and they had so much fun in doing that. And you know, we utilize the carrot greens as much as possible too. We don't have cows or anything to eat them. But you know, you can make teas off of them, or you can put those in dishes too, if you'd like to do that. We had potatoes, so we actually just planted them in round basins, like the silver tubs. We didn't do a lot because it was my first experience with potatoes. And I just had filled my other garden beds with other stuff, right? So this year I actually have one full garden bed of potatoes, so I cannot wait to get in there and dig all those up and see how much it really did produce. And this is just, we would go out there with the stock pot like every day and gather the tomatoes that we had. We had wild success with tomatoes. So it was really nice. I did a lot of canning of salsa. I did a lot of just canning tomato sauce. I'm still getting that out when I make supper. I'll go down to the basement and get some of that. So it's really nice because you know it hasn't sat in a metal can for a year or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And you know exactly what's in those tomatoes because you grew them. You know, your love, your energy, your time, your effort was in that. And they were grown right. They weren't grown with pesticides or chemicals or things that will harm your body. So that's really fun. This is a picture of, and mind you, like, this looks like a forest. I just live in the city, and I just have a very small backyard, and this is only just one little section of it that we decided to do. But it was ginormous, to say the least. We also happened to raise bunnies unintentionally, and we were able to feed them a lot from this garden, but this is no fertilizers here, nothing. This was like first year. So I was just really amazed by it, but I want to give a lot of credit to my soil. Soil's everything. So here's a picture of some of the jars of stuff we did. Unfortunately, yeah, that's not my corn because I don't live on an acreage, but I did can corn, and that's tomatoes that I canned as well. While I like canning stuff, I also think freezing is a really good option because it's so much faster. And it just depends upon the season of life that you're in, you know. Right now, this summer, I just don't have as much time as last year, or the year before I had even more time. So it's okay, you know, just grow stuff and do what you can. It's better than not growing at all. I think this is a picture here of our cattle panel where we did our squash and it went up and over. I seen a really cool picture online, and I'm like, I gotta do that. I wanna walk through a rainbow of squash. Just a little cavern there. So that's what we did. We had tons of butternut squash. I actually kept butternut squash in my garage all year. I think we were still eating tomatoes on the ground of the garage in December. So yeah, they lasted. Of course, my garage is heated to about 40, so that helped, but I mean, they stayed and they stayed well. And that is another picture of where we cattle paneled squash as well. So we're huge squash fans. And we did grow a little bit of cantaloupe. Even though my yard is fenced in with 6 feet fence, like we had possums coming over, other things as well. So whatever cantaloupe I had, they did get eaten, unfortunately. But you know, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. One thing I did really find a lot of fun in is seed saving. I really geek out to that stuff. I know it's pretty crazy. But instead of going out to buy all of your seeds year after year, you can just wash your seeds out of there. You can save them. You can dry them. And I have tons of ball jars with seeds, and I'll never have to buy another seed as long as I live if I don't want to. That's our little tomatoes there we got. So my neighbor Rick, he's a huge tomato fan, and he's the best master gardener he proclaims. Anyways, so he's a huge fan of these little tomatoes, the grape tomatoes, and I'm like, yeah, I just really don't like those. And he's like, you should grow them. I just pick them, I snack on them, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really like them. But you know, one day I went to the garden, one day I went to the greenhouse, right, and I bought some, and I think it was Super Sweet 101. And they were the most amazing tomatoes I ever had, and now I grow them every single year. 1 or 2 plants is all you're gonna need because they are so profuse, but they're amazing. All right, well, that's actually all that I had to share with you. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Yes?
You mentioned that you do basement growing. What lights do you use?
Well, so I did yeah, it's a good question. So I actually got my grow lights off of Amazon. And so I'm a real big fan of looking at reviews of things before I buy them, so I know, am I actually making the right choice? And well, so the first year that I did it, I think I might have got the greenhouse set up in December, January time. And I started way earlier than what people would suggest, but it actually turned out really beneficial, and it was very successful for me. So, yeah.
When you plant outside, when do you start? Is it late May?
Well, yes.
Last season that we planted, a lot of stuff did not grow as big because it was later.
Right. So I think it depends what you want to plant. So my sister's a big, you need to wait till May 15th, and you don't put anything in that dirt till May 15th, right? But I think if you're growing your own stuff, and if you're using seed, and you put stuff, you grow, say you want to do broccoli or whatever, and you've got them all seeded, they're ready to go outside, put half of them out there. You can grow 50 plants off of a package of seeds. So put them out there. If they die, you got your backups. You can get those out there in a couple weeks after that. But there are some things that really do actually taste better, and they enjoy the cooler temperatures. I think, spinach is one of them, lettuces, some of those brassicas, like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, cabbage, some of those things actually taste sweeter, taste better, do better when they do get to go through a cool season, or they get a little frost. So I think just doing the research on something like that is gonna be beneficial. You don't wanna put your peppers out there because they're never gonna do anything for you in March, but just knowing that peppers need really hot sunshine, just knowing that, I just don't put those out there, but I'll definitely give it a chance on the other things that I know would maybe do well.
And last question, have you ever tried a grounding patch, grass grounding patch indoors for December? It's a big thing now where you get to grow a patch of grass.
No, I haven't.
And that way you get to press, because you can't go outside December.
Right.
Around, right?
Right.
So then you can put it in there. And that's one thing, I've never grown grass indoors. I mean, they have cat grass, which I've bought before, right? So I'm wondering if that's actually a thing that you can do. And I'm going to try it this year.
I like that idea. I have never, and I actually haven't heard of that, but when the kids go to school and they grow their little grass seed cups and they bring them home, you're like, oh, grass. So no, I think that's an excellent idea, and just experiment with that type of stuff. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but there's things you can probably do to get it to work, and if it brings you joy, it's definitely worth doing. So we all need joy in the winter, right?
Well, he gets up at night somewhere.
more questions? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Rain barrel, do you have to do any watering? Sometimes when the plants are little, even if you mulch, you have to do watering your rain barrels, or how do you
Do I add minerals? Was that your?
have any rain barrels? Any for catching?
Oh, you know what? I actually do not. That's something that I've always wanted to do, and I just haven't made it to that step. So that's something that I think would be super beneficial. I'd want to do it. I haven't done that yet.
Or down at Public Utilities at the rain barrel rebate,
Oh,
$20 if you put your rain barrel up.
okay.
And on the other end of it, as far as fertilizing, you have compost bin or bins.
Okay.
Do you have?
I do not. I do not. That's something that, hey, if I have more time in life and maybe when I'm retired, I would love to do more of that. But I do think it's important to do that or purchase it from someone that thinks it's important to do that.
Get compost.
Yeah.
Technique that I discovered a long time ago when I was building a house for helping Habitat for Humanity build a house. They had a bunch of pallets when they actually put the sod down, and a lady wanted the garden in the corner, and the elder guy that said, you know, you got your instant compost bin, set 4 pallets up together, screw the corners together.
Yeah.
We put up 2 compost bins for right away, and that's what I've been doing ever since for them.
I think that's a great idea. I really do. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any experience with or opinions about gardening in hay bales? And also, the best pesticide I've used on my indoor plants and in my gardens is ground cynic.
Okay. Well, I like that. So I like using anything natural to combat those issues that you have. So I think that's always the way to go. Again, you know, try those natural things first. If they're not working for you, you can always switch it up. So I don't think you should ever be afraid to try that. And no, I haven't done in the hay bales yet.
So you said you recover some of your seeds,
Yes.
so you can't do that with hybrid plants, so can you?
Well, you know, that's a good question that I wish I could answer for you. Some of my seeds came from like heirloom stuff. Some of them did not. And actually, like I did so much of like crazy seed saving. I did some that I put in, you know, some are in the freezer, some are in ball jars. I actually did plant some seeds, I think, from the freezer that I had purchased prior and put those in the garden. Those didn't grow. So a little bit more devoted time to that type of stuff. I think, you know, I'd be able to give you a little better answer. But that's a good question.
You don't necessarily end up with a hybrid plant that you took the seed from, you get something that went in and manufactured.
Yeah, so I've got all different kinds, kind of depending on, you know, it all depends. For me, it's a season. So like if I have more time and I'm, you know, if I'm going to dedicate the time to it, I might just grow things by seed. But there are times where, you know, life is just chaos for me, and so I end up going to Super Fresh to go purchase my little plants, and then I'll put them in the ground, and then you're not always sure, like, you know, if that's I mean, sometimes you can find out if that's an heirloom item or if it's not. Otherwise, there's seed places you can purchase heirloom seeds from. I'm all in support of that, but getting something in the ground is really important.